Commander Lee Hyun gripped the metal railing of the bridge as alarms blared throughout the UES Defiance. The massive viewscreen showed something that made his blood run cold. Dozens of alien warships materialized out of thin air, their dark hulls stretching for miles across space. Each ship looked like a giant black dagger pointed straight at Earth. "Sir, we're picking up energy readings unlike anything we've ever seen," reported Lieutenant Kang Soo from the sensor station. His voice shook as numbers flashed across his screen. "These ships are massive. The largest one is almost 10 kilometers long." Lee Hyun had served in the Earth Defense Force for 20 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The alien fleet hung in space like storm clouds, blocking out entire star patterns. Their ships moved with an eerie silence, no exhaust trails or visible engines, just smooth, deadly grace. Captain Park Mina rushed onto the bridge, still fastening her uniform jacket. "Status report," she ordered, taking her position in the captain's chair. Her dark eyes swept across the tactical displays, showing red warning symbols everywhere. 47 enemy vessels confirmed," called out Ensign Yu Han from the communications desk. "They're transmitting on multiple frequencies. I'm trying to decode their message now." The bridge crew worked frantically at their stations, while the alien fleet arranged itself in perfect formation above Earth. Lee Hyun watched through the view screen as the enormous ships cast shadows across entire continents. Cities below must be seeing darkness in the middle of the day. "Got it," Yu Han announced suddenly. "The translation software is working. They're sending us a message." The main screen flickered and changed. An alien face appeared, unlike anything, from Earth's nightmares. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, with skin that looked like polished stone. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into cold mechanical English. "I am Fleet Commander Vextor of the Vakari Empire. Your world belongs to us now. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. Remove all weapons from your orbital stations. Land all military spacecraft. Submit your leaders for processing. Resistance will result in total extinction." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Park Mina stood up slowly, her hands clenched into fists. "How many worlds have they conquered?" she asked quietly. "According to our deep space monitoring posts, 12 planets in the last 6 months, Lee Hyun replied, checking his data pad. "The fastest conquest took only 3 hours. The longest was 18 hours. Every single world surrendered or was completely destroyed." Park Mina walked to the view screen, staring at the alien fleet. "They've never fought humans before." "Ma'am, should we contact Earth Command?" asked Communications Officer Kim Nari. "Already done," Park Mina replied. "Every defense station in the system is on high alert. But look at those ships. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." Lee Hyun moved to stand beside his captain. "Maybe that's their weakness. They've won every fight so easily, they don't know how to handle real resistance." Through the view screen, they could see smaller alien craft launching from the main ships. These scouts zipped around Earth's orbital stations, scanning everything with bright blue beams. The aliens were studying human defenses, probably laughing at how primitive Earth's weapons looked. "Sir," called out Tactical Officer Lee Bom, "I'm detecting some kind of energy buildup in their main ship. It looks like they're charging weapons." "Are they going to attack now?" Park Mina asked. "No, I think they're just showing us what they can do," Lee Hyun said grimly. "Classic intimidation tactic." Sure enough, one of the alien ships fired a single beam of red energy at a dead asteroid floating near Mars. The space rock simply vanished, turned into glowing particles that scattered into nothing. The message was clear: surrender or share the asteroid's fate. "Captain," Yu Han spoke up nervously, "Earth Command is asking for our assessment. What do we tell them?" Park Mina was quiet for a long moment, watching the alien ships hover over her home world. Finally, she turned to face her crew. "We tell them the truth. We're outgunned, outnumbered, and probably doomed. But we're human beings. And human beings don't quit." Lee Hyun felt a surge of pride at his captain's words. He activated the ship's emergency protocols, sending coded messages to resistance cells hidden throughout the solar system. If the Vakari Empire wanted Earth, they would have to fight for every inch of it. "All hands, this is Captain Park Mina," she announced over the ship's intercom. We face an enemy that has conquered worlds across the galaxy. They think we'll surrender like all the others. They're about to learn why that's the biggest mistake of their lives. The bridge crew straightened. At their stations, fear replaced by determination. Earth's survival now depended on what happened in the next 72 hours. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Kim Jun wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked on humanity's last hope. The underground research facility buzzed with activity as scientists and engineers raced against time. Sparks flew from experimental quantum weapons as Kim Jun's team pushed the technology beyond all safety limits. "The power core is overheating again," shouted his assistant, Dr. Park Sol, over the noise of cooling fans running at maximum speed. "If we push it any harder, the whole lab might explode." Kim Jun didn't look up from his work. His hands moved quickly, connecting circuits that had never been tested in combat. "Then we'll explode trying, better than waiting for the aliens to vaporize us from orbit." The quantum weapons looked nothing like traditional firearms. They resembled glowing blue crystals mounted on sleek metal frames. When fired, they could theoretically punch holes through space itself, but the prototypes had only been tested on small targets. Now they needed to work against massive alien warships. Meanwhile, 300 miles above ground, General Choi Hana stood in the war room of Earth's orbital command station. Holographic displays showed the positions of every human ship in the solar system. Her weathered face remained calm despite the impossible odds they faced. "Status report on the evacuation ships," she ordered, pointing at the tactical display. 700 civilian transports have launched toward the outer colonies," reported Colonel Yunjae. "But the alien ships are tracking every movement. They're letting our people leave, probably to study our technology." Choi Hana nodded grimly. The Vakari were playing with them, like cats watching mice before the final strike. "What about our defense fleet?" 230 combat vessels ready for battle, Yunjae replied. "The aliens have 47 ships, but each one is the size of a small city." Through the command center's windows, they could see Earth below, looking peaceful and blue. But dark shadows moved across the planet's surface as alien ships passed overhead. The enemy was scanning every major city, probably choosing which ones to destroy first as examples. General called out Communications Officer Limbo. "We're receiving another transmission from the alien fleet." The main screen flickered, showing the same stone-faced alien commander from before. But this time his four eyes glowed with amusement. "Humans of Earth, your time grows short. We have watched your pathetic evacuation attempts. Your weapons are primitive toys. Surrender now, and we will allow half your population to live as slaves." The transmission ended, but immediately another signal came through. This one showed live footage of alien fighter craft buzzing around Earth's major cities. The small ships moved impossibly fast, performing aerial maneuvers that would crush any human pilot. They fired harmless warning shots that lit up the sky, like fireworks demonstrating their power. Back in the underground facility, engineer Song Tai sat hunched over his computer, analyzing every piece of alien communication they had recorded. His eyes were red from staring at screens for 18 hours straight, but he had noticed something strange. "Dr. Kim," he called out excitedly, "come look at this." Kim Jun hurried over, still holding a quantum weapon component. "What did you find?" Song Tai pointed at strange patterns on his screen. "Every time the aliens communicate with each other, there's a background frequency. I thought it was just interference at first, but it's too regular. It's some kind of carrier signal." "So, what?" Kim Jun asked, though his scientific mind was already working. "Watch this," Song Tai said, typing rapidly. He played back footage of alien ships maneuvering in space, then overlaid the communication frequency. "See how their ships slow down or change direction right when the frequency spikes?" Kim Jun's eyes widened. "You think they're using that frequency to coordinate their fleet movements?" "More than that," Song Tai said with growing excitement. "I think it's part of their navigation system. When I ran the signal through our analysis computer, it caused glitches in our own guidance systems." Kim Jun set down his tools and stared at the data. "If we could disrupt that frequency, their ships might lose coordination," Song Tai finished, "maybe even crash into each other." Word of the discovery spread quickly through the facility. Within minutes, every available scientist was working on ways to weaponize the alien frequency. They built signal generators, modified communication arrays, and prepared to turn the enemy's own technology against them. Above ground, General Choi Hana received the news with the first smile she had worn in days. "How long until we can deploy this weapon?" "6 hours if everything goes perfectly," Kim Jun reported over the secure communication link. "But we'll only get one chance. Once the aliens realize what we're doing, they'll change their frequency." Choi Hana looked at the countdown timer on her wall. 36 hours until the alien deadline. "That's enough time. We'll coordinate our attack with the signal disruption." As human ships moved into position throughout the solar system, nobody noticed the small changes in their behavior. They flew in slightly different patterns than before, communicated using new codes, and prepared weapons in ways that seemed random to alien observers. The Vakari had conquered 12 worlds using the same tactics, but they had never faced humans. Before, and humans had a talent for finding hope in hopeless situations. The Vakari fleet moved toward Earth in perfect formation, their massive ships gliding through space like deadly ballet dancers. Fleet Commander Vextor watched from his command bridge as his vessels prepared for what should be the easiest conquest in the Empire's history. Humans had primitive technology and weak bodies. This would be over in minutes. But as the first wave of Vakari fighters approached Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. The human ships didn't retreat or form defensive lines like every other species had done. Instead, they scattered in completely random directions, moving in patterns that made no tactical sense. "What are they doing?" Vextor asked his tactical officer, confusion creeping into his voice. Above Earth's Pacific Ocean, pilot Yoon Bora gripped the controls of her fighter as she dove straight toward the planet's surface. Her squadron followed behind her, 17 ships plummeting toward the ocean at suicidal speeds. Vakari fighters pursued them, confident in their superior technology. "Bora, they're gaining on us," radioed her wingman, Lieutenant Ko Min. "Should we break off?" "Not yet," Bora replied, watching her altitude drop dangerously low. The ocean rushed up to meet them, blue waves growing larger by the second. "Trust me on this." The Vakari pilots couldn't understand why humans would fly directly into a gravity well. It violated every rule of space combat. Their ships were faster and more maneuverable in open space, so diving toward a planet gave up their main advantage. At the last possible moment, Yoon Bora pulled up hard, her ship skimming just 50 meters above the ocean waves. Her squadron followed, using Earth's gravity to slingshot around the planet at incredible speeds. The pursuing Vakari fighters tried to match the maneuver, but they had never fought in a gravity well before. 3 alien ships crashed into the ocean, their pilots unable to compensate for the sudden gravitational forces. 2 more clipped each other as they tried to turn, spinning out of control before exploding in brilliant fireballs. "Impossible," Vextor muttered, watching his fighters destroyed by what should have been a retreating enemy on the other side of Earth. Scientist O'Day sat in a cramped command bunker, surrounded by computer screens showing the battle in real time. He had spent his entire career studying chaos theory and random probability. Now he was using that knowledge to save humanity. "Activate Pattern 7, he ordered his team of mathematicians and programmers. Across Earth's orbital defense network, human ships suddenly changed their behavior completely. Ships that had been attacking alien fighters suddenly fled in panic. Others that had been retreating charged forward with suicidal bravery. Some fired all their weapons at empty space, while others held their fire when enemies were in perfect range. The Vakari tactical computers tried to analyze human behavior, looking for patterns they could predict and counter. But O'Day had programmed pure randomness into the human response. Every time the aliens thought they understood what humans would do next, the pattern changed completely. "Their movements make no sense," reported the Vakari tactical officer. "Our computers cannot predict their next actions." Above Earth's moon, squadron leader Park Hyung led his ships in what looked like a chaotic dogfight. His pilots flew like they were drunk, spinning and diving without any apparent plan. Vakari fighters tried to target them, but every time they locked onto a human ship, it would suddenly accelerate in an impossible direction. "How are they moving like that?" demanded a Vakari pilot over the communication channel. The answer was simple but brilliant. Human ships were using the gravitational fields of Earth, the Moon, and even large orbital stations to change direction instantly. While Vakari ships relied on their engines for all movement, humans were turning gravity itself into a weapon. Captain Li Zhong piloted his fighter in a spiral around a massive orbital factory. Vakari ships followed him, firing energy beams that lit up space like a deadly light show. But Li Zhong knew something his enemies didn't. He had calculated the exact moment when the factory's rotation would create a gravitational anomaly. At precisely the right second, he cut his engines and let physics take over. His ship was flung away from the factory like a stone from a slingshot, moving faster than any engine could propel him. The pursuing Vakari fighters, unprepared for such a maneuver, crashed directly into the factory's hull. Down in his bunker, O'Day watched the battle with growing excitement. Pattern 12 is working perfectly, he told his team. The aliens can't adapt to truly random behavior. He had discovered something remarkable about the Vakari. Their entire military doctrine was based on logic and predictable responses. They had conquered 12 worlds because every other species fought in ways that could be analyzed and countered. But humans were different. Humans could be completely illogical when necessary. Fighter pilot Shinai demonstrated this perfectly when she found herself surrounded by 6 Vakari ships. Instead of trying to fight or flee, she did something no sane pilot would attempt. She turned off all her ship's systems and played dead, drifting through space like debris. The confused Vakari circled her motionless ship, unsure what to do. Their sensors showed no life signs, no engine activity, nothing that suggested a threat. While they hesitated, trying to understand this strange behavior, Shin-Ai waited. When the enemy ships moved close enough, she suddenly reactivated her systems and fired at point-blank range. 3 Vakari fighters exploded before they could react. The others fled in panic, reporting that human ships could apparently come back from the dead. Fleet Commander Vextor stared at his tactical displays in growing alarm. His forces were taking losses against an enemy that should have been helpless. Worse, he couldn't understand how or why it was happening. Human tactics made no sense according to everything the Vakari had learned about warfare. The streets of Seoul erupted in chaos as Vakari dropships landed in the city center. The massive alien craft touched down with thunderous booms, crushing cars and buildings beneath their weight. Armored Vakari soldiers poured out, their energy weapons glowing with deadly light. They expected to find terrified humans cowering in their homes, ready to surrender. Instead, they found Marine Sergeant Han Wu waiting for them. Han Wu crouched behind an overturned bus, watching alien troops advance down the main street. His squad of 20 Marines was hidden throughout the surrounding buildings, armed with conventional weapons that seemed pitiful compared to alien technology. But Han Wu had learned something important during his years of urban combat training. "Remember," he whispered into his radio, "we don't fight fair, we fight to win." The Vakari moved in perfect formation, their 4 eyes scanning for threats. Their stone-like skin could deflect most human bullets, and their energy shields protected them from explosions. They had conquered cities across the galaxy using the same tactics, overwhelming resistance with superior firepower. But they had never fought in a human city before. Corporal Kim Sun opened fire from a 3rd-floor window, not at the aliens themselves, but at the glass facade of the building across the street. Thousands of razor-sharp fragments rained down on the Vakari patrol, cutting through gaps in their armor. While they stumbled and tried to clear their vision, Marines emerged from manholes. "In the street! Now!" Han Wu shouted, leading the charge from underground. The aliens spun around, confused by attacks coming from above and below simultaneously. Their tactical computers had calculated every possible angle of assault, but hadn't considered that humans would use the city's own architecture as a weapon. Private Li Kang emerged from a storm drain directly beneath an alien soldier, grabbed the creature's legs, and pulled it down into the sewer system. The Vakari's energy weapon fired wildly as it disappeared underground, its terrified screams echoing through the tunnels. 2 blocks away, Lance Corporal Park Ney had turned an abandoned apartment building into a deadly maze. She had rigged every doorway with improvised traps, using household items the aliens didn't recognize as weapons. When Vakari soldiers entered the building, they found themselves facing exploding microwaves, electrified bathtubs, and stairways that collapsed at the touch of a hidden switch. "These humans are insane," reported a Vakari squad leader over the radio. "They're using their own habitat as a weapon against us." Meanwhile, in a secure laboratory beneath the city, Dr. Lim Su made a breakthrough that would change everything. For hours, she had been studying pieces of alien technology recovered from crashed fighters. The Vakari weapons were incredibly advanced, but they had one weakness the aliens never expected anyone to exploit. They're quantum-locked to Vakari DNA, she explained excitedly to her research team. "The weapons won't fire for anyone else, but if we can modify the quantum signature." Working frantically, Lim Su and her team rewired captured alien energy rifles. They couldn't change the DNA lock, but they could fool it by creating artificial Vakari genetic markers. Within hours, they had prototype weapons that could fire alien energy beams. The first human to test the modified weapon was Sergeant Cho Bin, who had been pinned down by Vakari forces in a subway station. When he fired the captured alien rifle, a brilliant blue beam cut through the tunnel wall like paper. The pursuing aliens stopped in shock, unable to understand how humans had gained access to their technology. But the real turning point came when Captain Jong Ai made an unexpected discovery during a space battle above Earth's moon. Her fighter squadron was engaged in a desperate fight against superior Vakari ships when something strange happened. "Captain, the aliens are breaking off their attack," reported her wingman, Lieutenant Go Tai. Jung Ai watched in amazement as enemy fighters suddenly veered away from combat, their pilots apparently in distress. Through her radio she could hear panicked alien communications, but the translation was garbled and confusing. "What's happening to them?" she wondered aloud. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Song Min, monitoring the battle from Earth's command center, had been analyzing alien brain patterns captured by their scanning equipment. What she discovered shocked everyone. "The Vakari have a collective neural network," she announced over the emergency communication channel. "They share thoughts and emotions telepathically, but human emotions are disrupting their connection." Jung Ai realized what this meant. "Our determination to keep fighting is driving them crazy." "Exactly," Song Min replied. "They've never encountered a species that refuses to surrender when facing impossible odds. Your stubborn refusal to quit is overloading their mental network." This revelation spread quickly through human forces. Soldiers who had been fighting defensively suddenly pressed their attacks with renewed fury. Pilots who had been trying to survive began taking impossible risks. The more desperate and determined humans became, the more confused and panicked the Vakari grew. In the sewers beneath Seoul, Hanwoo's Marines began their most audacious assault yet. They had mapped the entire underground tunnel system and realized they could reach the alien command post without being detected. Carrying modified alien weapons and homemade explosives, they crawled through storm drains that no Vakari would think to check. "Remember," Hanwoo told his squad as they prepared for the final assault, "they think we're beaten. They think we'll surrender like everyone else. Let's show them what human stubbornness really looks like." Above them, Vakari commanders struggled to understand reports from their ground forces. Human resistance was supposed to collapse within hours, but instead it was growing stronger. Worse, their own troops were beginning to panic, overwhelmed by the sheer determination of their opponents. The tide of battle was turning, and the aliens were finally beginning to understand that humans were unlike any species they had ever encountered. "Fleet." Commander Vextor stared at his tactical displays in complete disbelief. Half of his mighty armada was destroyed or severely damaged. The remaining ships limped through space, their crews traumatized by something they had never experienced before. Defeat at the hands of a supposedly primitive species. "Sir, we're receiving casualty reports from all sectors," his communications officer reported with trembling voice. "Ground forces in Seoul have been completely overrun. The humans are using our own weapons against us." Vexeater's 4 eyes blazed with fury and confusion. "How is this possible? We conquered the Zelthari in 6 hours. The Morphean Empire fell in a single day. These humans should have surrendered immediately, but the humans hadn't surrendered. Instead, they had done something no other species had ever attempted. They had turned the Vakari's own advantages against them. Their unpredictable tactics had confused Vakari battle computers. Their stubborn determination had overloaded the aliens' collective neural network. Most shocking of all, they had somehow reverse-engineered Vakari technology in the middle of battle. Above Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Nam-Ki stood on the bridge of the flagship Soul's Revenge, watching alien ships retreat in panic. Her weathered face showed no mercy as she opened communication channels to the fleeing enemy. "This is Admiral Nam-Ki of the Earth Defense Force," she announced, her voice carrying across space to every Vakari ship. "You came to our world expecting easy conquest. Instead, you found something you've never encountered before: humans who refuse to quit." The message was transmitted not just to the Vakari fleet, but broadcast on every frequency humans could access. It reached across the galaxy, touching worlds that had been conquered by the alien empire, planets where enslaved populations had given up hope of freedom. "Let this be a message to every species in the galaxy," Nam-Ki continued. "Earth is under human protection. Any alien force that threatens our world will meet the same fate as the Vakari. We don't fight fair, we don't follow your rules, and we never surrender." On the bridge of his retreating flagship, Vextor received reports that filled him with dread. Human ships weren't just defending Earth anymore. They were pursuing his fleet. Small groups of human fighters harassed Vakari vessels as they tried to escape, using hit-and-run tactics that kept the aliens constantly off balance. Pilot Yoon Bora led one such pursuit squadron, her ships darting between the massive alien vessels like angry wasps. "This is for every world you destroyed," she radioed as her fighters unleashed modified Vakari weapons at their former owners. The alien ships that had seemed invincible just hours before now fled in terror. Their perfect formations had dissolved into chaos. Ships collided with each other as panicked crews tried to jump to hyperspace simultaneously. The mighty Vakari Empire, conquerors of 12 worlds, was running from a single planet of stubborn humans. But the real victory was just beginning. Across the galaxy, on a dozen conquered worlds, alien slaves heard Admiral Nam-Ki's transmission. On the crystal cities of Valtera Prime, the enslaved Morphians looked up at their Vakari overseers with new hope in their eyes. The humans had done the impossible. They had defeated the Empire. Elder Zexthar of the Morphian resistance whispered to his fellow prisoners, "If humans can resist the Vakari, so can we." On the industrial world of Keltar 7, the conquered Zelthari heard the human message and began to remember what freedom felt like. Factory worker Quindal dropped his tools and spoke words that hadn't been heard in 3 years. "The Vakari can be beaten." The revolution started slowly, with small acts of defiance. Workers on conquered worlds began sabotaging alien equipment. Slaves refused to follow orders. Underground resistance movements that had been crushed into silence began to stir again. Back on Earth, Dr. Lim Su continued her work analyzing captured Vakari technology. What she discovered would change the galaxy forever. "Their entire empire is built on fear," she explained to the gathered Earth leaders. "They win by convincing other species that resistance is hopeless. But we've proven that's a lie." The human victory had done more than save Earth. It had shattered the myth of Vakari invincibility. Across their empire, conquered species began to rise up. The Morphians reclaimed their crystal cities in a single day. The Zelthari overwhelmed their guards and seized control of the mining worlds. The aquatic Deltans emerged from their underwater prisons and retook their ocean planets. Within weeks, the Vakari Empire began to collapse. Their forces, designed to fight conventional battles against predictable enemies, couldn't handle simultaneous rebellions on a dozen worlds. Worse, the conquered species had learned from humanity's example. They fought using unconventional tactics, refusing to surrender even when facing impossible odds. Captain Jung Ai piloted her fighter on patrol around Earth's moon, watching as refugee ships arrived from liberated worlds. Each vessel carried aliens who had won their freedom by following humanity's example of stubborn resistance. "Earth Control, this is Captain Jung Ai," she radioed. "We have another group of Morphian refugees requesting permission to land." "Permission granted," came the reply. Welcome them home. The galaxy had changed forever. The age of easy conquest was over. The Vakari Empire, once the terror of 100 worlds, was reduced to a handful of ships fleeing into deep space. Other aggressive species looked at what had happened and reconsidered their own plans for expansion. And throughout the galaxy, a new legend spread, the legend of the humans who refused to surrender. The story was told on 1,000 worlds, in 100 different languages, but the message was always the same. Sometimes the most powerful weapon in the universe isn't advanced technology or superior numbers. Sometimes it's the simple refusal to give up, no matter how hopeless things seem. The humans had saved more than just their own world. They had reminded the galaxy that freedom was worth fighting for, and that even the smallest species could make a difference if they were stubborn enough to keep trying. The end.